We're back on One True Podcast. Brice Cherry alongside John Werner, as always. And our special guest this week is Benton Smith from KUSports.com, the Lawrence paper there, the Lawrence World Journal. Is that correct, Benton?
Journal World.
Journal so World. Yeah, we get the Herald Tribune all the time, too.
Yeah.
My bad. And
no problem.
Benton's been there for 9 years, covering football for the last 5. Benton, thanks for coming on with us.
Yeah, no doubt. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk about this game, and I'm sure we'll get to it, but hopefully this game is played, right?
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
Knock on wood.
Yeah.
First, as we record this today on Wednesday, there was some news today about Gil Sayers, the passing of Gil Sayers. Gil Sayers went to Kansas, probably arguably. I guess I'll ask you guys this. I mean, you feel like he goes down as the best Jayhawk football player ever? I mean, obviously there's a lot to choose from in basketball, but I mean, Gil Sayers seems to be the guy. Benton, I mean, you feel like he holds that title?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he's legendary in the truest sense of the word. I mean, I feel like that's a term that maybe gets thrown around too much sometimes, but it's fitting for him. I mean, he's an all-timer, and I mean, I love seeing like the kind of grainy video footage from, it's usually from his days with the Chicago Bears, because, Kansas football back in the early 1960s, I don't think there's a lot of video available of that. But I mean, he was an incredible athlete. And I mean, like you could see him playing in a game today and being just as productive, just because he was that special of a runner, that elusive, that creative in the open field. I mean, he really looked to be like a guy who was just ahead of his time as far as an athlete and a runner.
John, am I going to embarrass you by saying you probably remember Gil Sayers?
Yes, I do. Actually, 1968 was the first year I started watching the NFL. And I remember how big a deal it was that year when Gil got injured. Kermit Alexander, the 49ers defensive back, it was a clean tackle and everything, but Gil really tore up his knee. He wasn't quite the same afterwards, but boy, before that, I mean, there was nobody like him. I don't know if I've still seen anybody who could cut quite like him. Just cut against the grain, reverse field. He was just remarkable, and from everything you've heard about him, just a great person too. So yeah, it's a sad day.
Yeah, it'd be nice if Baylor would hold like a little moment of silence for him on Saturday. I mean, we'll see on that. But, the comment I made to you, John, just a minute ago was I feel like he was Barry Sanders before Barry Sanders, I mean,
yeah.
In terms of the moves, and you see a little film, making its way on the social media today, and it's fun to relive those highlights. And certainly, our prayers and thoughts go out to the Sayers family, but sad news there. As far as this game goes, so obviously, guys, Kansas did, they were able to play Coastal Carolina a couple weeks ago, get their opener in. Baylor, meanwhile, sitting here going 0 for 2 in terms of getting games in. The original opener was against Louisiana Tech. That got scrapped when the Bulldogs had a COVID outbreak. And then the plan B was Houston, and that one got called off because Baylor was not able to meet the position thresholds that have been put forth by the Big 12. That was actually the first Power 5 game canceled on a Friday this year. Little note there. Let's hope it was the last. But so as we sit here on Wednesday, as we record this, what do you guys feel like the likelihood that this game actually, gets played is? Ben, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, I was about to say, it sounded like from everything that came out of Baylor on Monday, they're pretty optimistic, right? Sounds like that position group should be back to close to normal at this week at some point. So that hearing that from Baylor made me optimistic that the game would be played. And of course, to me, like, just this year is so bizarre. I feel like we never really know, right? I mean, that came out of the blue Friday, did it not?
Right, it did.
Baylor getting called off. So, I mean, theoretically, it could happen to any game, anywhere. So,
yeah, Johnny, what do you think?
Yeah, I think they're going to play Coach Aranda, Mac Rhodes, the AD. They're both saying they're getting guys back at that position group. So hopefully there won't be another outbreak in the middle of the week. But gosh, yeah, they test them Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday. So, theoretically, it takes a day to get the test back. They could cancel one Saturday morning. You just don't know. To me, the really tough thing, and Mac Rhodes addressed it the other day, is contact tracing. And I think that's what got Baylor last week. I think they had maybe a couple positives in that position group, but I think the big issue is contact tracing. And, if you're in close contact with somebody, you have to quarantine for 14 days. Even if you test negative. I mean, I do not like that rule. I think it's a little over the top, and I think it's going to cause some more cancellations unless maybe they modify it some.
And am I right in saying, correct me if I'm wrong on this, guys, but if you test positive, you're out for 10 days? But if you are in close contact, you're out for 14?
I believe that's right. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that's what I had seen too. That's I don't know. I think they're just trying to be extra precautious, I guess, with, like, just in case, someone has contracted the virus, but it's not showing up yet. To me, it's strange and it's tough. I mean, and I think we've seen in some of the other games that have been postponed around the country, that's the contact tracing is really the biggest part of it, because your guys that may not necessarily be dealing with the virus are impacted too. They're just trying to keep everybody safe, and then there's all these ramifications. It's tough.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, Benton, talk to me a little bit about Les Miles. Very interesting hire by Kansas. I mean, to say the least. I mean, Les is a guy that, has a great personality and, has a history in the Big 12. What's sort of the general feeling about him among the Kansas fan base as we sit here in year two? And has it taken a hit at all, now that Kansas has lost to Coastal Carolina for the second straight year?
Yeah, I don't know if it's taken a hit necessarily. I think people are excited that Les Miles is at Kansas, and obviously, last year wasn't great or that much different than, recent years. But I think most people who are rational about this program kind of understand how far it has to go. And I think what they are probably most optimistic about is the way that he's been recruiting since he took over. Like, so often in the past, other KU coaches were filling in the gaps with transfers and JUCO guys, and that's just not how you build a program.
Right.
That's, really at the bottom level. So that what they've done is they've done high school recruiting. They've hit it hard, and I mean their 2021 class looks like it's going to be all high schoolers. Their 2020 class was all high schoolers. So they seem to be doing it the right way, and it's just going to take some time. I know some fans are not patient with that. Some fans are sick of seeing the losing year after year after year. And I think probably the biggest thing he took a hit with last year was just how the offense was kind of archaic at times. And they obviously fired their offensive coordinator midseason and put in Brent Dearman, who kind of revitalized the offense late last year. So I think that too provides a little bit of optimism that, we're not going to see like these old I formation LSU plays from, 15 years ago, that type of thing. So I think while there are some detractors, I think for the most part, fans are pretty positive because they think that the program is kind of slowly going the right direction.
Gotcha. John, Les Miles and Dave Aranda actually worked together, and Aranda had some nice things to say about Les Miles this week. As we look at Baylor, they're certainly a little bit of a mystery in terms of what we're going to see. I mean, we haven't seen them yet this year. We think back to last year, Matt Rhule's Baylor team went up there to Lawrence and won that game handily. I think it was 61-6. But that was a very different Baylor team, an 11-win team. A lot of those guys that were on that defense are gone, including some studs like James Lynch. I personally expect this game to be a lot closer. It's hard to know what to expect, but how do you guys see it coming out? John, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see 61-6 again. That was the end of last year, the regular season. Baylor was just rolling. They were playing great. Who knows what we're going to see from Baylor? Who knows who's going to be out there for Baylor? I mean, we don't know. Obviously they've had some interruptions in practice. So you're right. They're a big mystery right now. I think they have talent. I think, they've got experience on offense. And I think their defense is a little underrated because even though they only brought 2 starters back, a lot of the guys behind those starters played and they're back. The big thing, well, can they get a pass rush? I mean, to me, that was the strongest point on the team last year was how good their pass rush was. And that just everything else fell into place after that. So, we'll see. But, yeah, you're right. They're a big mystery. But I don't think it's going to be a huge blowout like that.
How about you, Benton?
Well, it's funny you mentioned the pass rush because, I mean, if the Coastal Carolina game is any indication, Baylor will have no issues with its pass rush. That was the KU quarterbacks rarely had time to throw the ball downfield or read through their progressions. So, I mean that was a big issue. The pass blocking in particular was pretty poor for KU in that opener. They were a little bit more effective running the ball, but they also didn't really emphasize that and almost couldn't at some point because they were down so big, 28-0 in the halftime, before halftime, because they had 3 turnovers and that led to 21 points for Coastal. So they were kind of in comeback mode most of that game. But yeah, I do agree with you guys that it couldn't possibly be another 61-6.
Yeah.
I don't think. I think there's just not that large of a chasm between the level of talent probably at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But the KU defense it struggled throughout last year, and I don't think that they're necessarily better at this point. Maybe they'll progress to get there, but they have their issues. They had 2 tackles for loss against Coastal Carolina, no sacks, so they weren't getting into the backfield at all and applying any pressure. And they've also consistently, throughout last year and then again in the opener, they've had real issues trying to defend a mobile quarterback. And obviously, Charlie-Brewer is that guy. He can. I'd see him having another, typical productive Charlie-Brewer day against this defense.
Yeah. I'm very interested to see this game, honestly. Hope it does get played. But, to me, that's one of the things that really sticks out is that Kansas has sort of the edge in terms of, at least they have a game under their belt and they've had things to work on. And, Coastal obviously exposed some things. I wrote this week about Baylor having this, sort of mystery advantage on its size in terms of, the fact that you have to go to all these different places to look at tape to try to figure out who the 2020 Bears are going to be. I feel like we're going to know a little bit what Baylor's offense looks like because Benton mentioned Charlie-Brewer. They have their running backs back. They have most of their receivers back. The defense to me is the big question mark. A lot of those guys did play, but they were not starters, so they'll be getting a lot more time than they got in the past. I think Baylor wins a close one, but nothing really would surprise me in this game. So, as far as the Big 12 goes around the league, there are other 4 other conference games starting up this week. And to me, the most interesting one is Texas going to Lubbock to play Texas Tech. Longhorns just destroyed UTEP in their first game. Tech, meanwhile, on the flip side, just barely got by Houston Baptist. And I think that was a Houston Baptist team that got blown out by North Texas. So make of that what you will. I personally feel like Texas is kind of perpetually overrated, at least by AP voters. Now, this year we have to sort of couch that a little bit. There's a lot of the teams are not in the AP poll yet, because they haven't started playing, all those Big Ten teams. And obviously the Pac-12 is not in the poll. So, UT is a double-digit favorite in this game. Can Matt Wells' team spring the upset? Either one of you guys.
I mean, I'd be surprised, and that's just based on basically that Houston Baptist score that you alluded to. I agree with you. I mean, Texas generally gets the benefit of the doubt in the preseason polls, especially, just like Notre Dame does, or any big brand name college football program. But I do kind of wonder about Texas Tech's ability to, this year at least, to spring an upset against a Texas team that might legitimately be a top 10 team.
I don't see them upsetting Texas, really, although that's a pretty wacky series. I mean, the Red Raiders often win when you least expect. So, but gosh, that Houston Baptist score is a little scary, to win by a couple points there.
Yeah,
so,
that signals that Tech might be bad.
Yes, yeah, I'd be shocked if Tech pulled the upset.
I saw a stat on Twitter yesterday. Every once in a while, you can find some good things on Twitter. Not the trolls and the, whatever, everybody shouting at each other about politics or something. But the stat was something like Tech has not had a winning record at home since like 2009.
Wow.
Which just blew me away. I'm taking that as gospel, I guess. But that we always have these sort of built-in thoughts about, oh, that's a tough place to go play. Oh, that's a tough place to go play. Not sure that Lubbock has been lately. I mean, so
well, we wouldn't know. We hadn't been there.
That's right.
08.
That is right. We have to go back to Lubbock this year. Benton, that Tech-Baylor game, they always played it at Jerry World in Arlington, and now
right.
they've eliminated that. So we have to make the drive out to Lubbock, which is quite a haul.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's tough to get there from Lawrence or Kansas City. I mean, it's because you have to, I'm trying to, one time I flew into Amarillo or something, I think. I mean, and the prices on those flights to the Lubbock area are always pricey because it's such a small airport, I guess.
Right. Yeah, no doubt. It's kind of out there in the middle of nowhere. But our little tradition here on One True Podcast is to close with a little segment we call Culinary Corner. So Benton, even though this game is in Waco, we will have to go to Lawrence next year. John was there last year. So give me, what are a couple of your favorite places to go eat in Lawrence?
This is such a funny question to me right now because, I live in Kansas City, and because of the pandemic, I went to Lawrence for the Coastal game, close to 2 weeks ago, and that was the first time I'd been to Lawrence since March.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's just, everything is so weird right now. But obviously, I used to be in Lawrence a lot, and I did have places that I love to eat. So it wasn't an easy question to answer regardless. Leeway Franks is kind of I feel like under the radar, great place to eat. It's not downtown. It's kind of like more in the suburban area of town. But it's it's I guess they specialize in hot dogs and brats and that type of stuff.
John, we have some places in Kansas City that we always go to.
Yeah, I just mentioned those to Benton, Joe's, Stroud's, and I said by the time I get to Lawrence, I'm usually stuffed.
Yeah.
So I haven't eaten there a whole lot.
So Benton, a couple in Waco that you might check out. There's a great sandwich place called Schmaltz's. Are you coming down for the game?
This is again, it's a strange year. I'm not traveling right now, so
Gotcha.
It's crazy because I feel like I can't remember. Well, I know since I've been there, the Lawrence Journal-World has been at every single KU football game, including road games. And I mean, that's not necessarily the case for all the outlets who cover this team. So, and I mean, it has to have been decades at least since the Journal-World has not been at a KU football road game. So it's crazy. I'll be watching on ESPNU.
Yeah.
Kind of, doing my best. And then,
we had that question arise whether we were going to travel this year. Unfortunately, so far we're getting the word that we can. But anyway, when the next time you come to Waco, check out Schmaltz's.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great sandwich place. Check out VTEX. They've got great barbecue. There's some other good barbecue. Guest Barbecue is another one.
Is good,
yeah. So good Texas barbecue, and hopefully, 2021 maybe we'll be back to normal. Again, knock on wood here.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah. So Benton, thanks for joining us, man. Appreciate it. Good luck the rest of the season.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for having me. It was fun to talk about this game, and I'm like you said, knock on wood that it actually happens.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, appreciate it. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, Benton.
Thanks for having me.
Yep.